You know what's great about being in the UK? I get to see Sponge on the run before any of you damn Yankees get to. Enjoy your low quality rips while your country erupts on fire, you absolute clowns. Hope you enjoy your free trial of CBS All Access next year, you charlatans. Because I, Mark, got to see the new Spongebob movie, and it wasn't very good. Aside from scrolling through Twitter and seeing my American friends doom posting, I'm getting a lot of reactions to Sponge on the Run, the latest SpongeBob movie from the loins of Nickelodeon and Paramount. In spite of having a good chunk of the staff from the first movie, this feels way more soulless and greedy than any other piece of SpongeBob related media. Even this shirt. What a hoax. In spite of some stellar animation, which manages to capture the kinetic energy of the original cartoon and great stylized CG, like look, they gave him his season 1 design. He's even got misshapen pupils and look at his feet and legs. Look at his cute little shoes. They really don't manage to craft a compelling story around it. Instead, it's a rehash of a previous episode, with about a quarter of its runtime dedicated to being a backdoor pilot for this awful looking spin-off show where SpongeBob and his friends are babies at summer camp. Before we go into all that though, allow me to get a little more in-depth with the plot. Plankton kidnaps SpongeBob's pet Gary and hands him over to King Poseidon, the ruler of the sea. You know, despite Neptune always being portrayed as the ruler of the sea in the show. But don't worry about that, this isn't the only piece of lore they decide to step on. So SpongeBob and Patrick have to set out on an epic road trip to get to the lost city of Atlantic City. So it's just like the first one, right? The two approach comedic set pieces, new foes, and face treacherous hardships on their way to retrieve the prize. I wish. I really, really wish it was. A shameless rehash would have been a lot better than literally nothing. SpongeBob and Patrick set out in their vehicle to get to Poseidon. Then they get there. To be fair, there is some stuff that happens between then, but it's later revealed to be a dream sequence, a dream sequence that goes on for 15 minutes, oh boy. This is the worst part of the film. Not only does it add nothing to the plot other than funny Keanu Reeves, but it's just really bizarre and weird and not in the usual SpongeBob fashion. The initial teaser poster for the movie was all trippy and had the tagline, "This movie is gonna be a total trip." I thought the second movie was already really weird, so I wonder how they're gonna top that. Well, they don't. Everything in the movie is relatively standard fare, except for one random dream sequence where SpongeBob and Patrick visit an old western town and have to free the spirits of lol random epic zombie cowboys who dance and sing along to an epic song by Snoop Dogg. How wacky. I could give you a more in-depth plot synopsis, but that's really all it is. The only noticeable things about the plot are again the dream sequence with the desert town, and Keanu Reeves. He's just there the whole time. After the dream sequence, he tags along. And it's amazing how you can wear me out on Keanu Reeves, but they do it. They managed to make me sick of Keanu goddamn Reeves. And he's probably still the best part of the movie. It doesn't feel like an epic quest to find Gary. One, because they find out exactly where he is immediately after finding out he's missing. And two, they get to the lost city with 55 minutes left of the movie. This film is an hour and a half, and they reach their destination in about 30 minutes. After this, they piss about for a montage that goes on for way too long, and suddenly the rest of the cast decide to jump cut to the city to help out, in a scene, by the way, that is also a direct rehash of another older SpongeBob episode. Did they really not have any ideas? Well, they did, because there was a cancelled third SpongeBob movie about these weird alien cat guys that come down from space, and while it doesn't seem like it would have fit a SpongeBob movie, it's a lot more interesting than this. Not even the city of Atlantis is unique to the movie, since they did that in a special too. And hey, at least they got David Bowie to voice the leader of Atlantis in that special, and not the same guy who voiced Bubbles the dolphin in Sponge Out of Water, which is really damn noticeable. I haven't watched that movie in like a year, and I noticed it immediately. The only other real positive about this movie's narrative is that they actually have something to do for the rest of the cast and aren't shafted or sidelined. The first SpongeBob movie has recently been observed through a more critical lens, with more and more people bringing up its flaws, with one of those being about how it seems to ignore the main cast of characters that aren't just SpongeBob and Patrick. Personally, I don't really agree with this complaint. The movie's focus is about them and their growth as characters, so I don't really mind that characters like Sandy or Squidward get the shaft. The second movie definitely did a better job at using SpongeBob's other friends. That film was a lot less focused on the characters and mostly just aimed to be surreal and weird. But Sponge on the Run seems like it's trying to take both of these approaches, and it doesn't really succeed at either. They end the movie's first act with SpongeBob and Patrick being genre savvy, talking about how this is a buddy road trip, and eventually they're gonna have a fight and break up, only to come back together even stronger. Like, they even have SpongeBob break character by being a massive dickhead to Patrick completely unprompted, just to make the joke work. SpongeBob can be mean at times, but it always feels earned, or when he's at his absolute breaking point. That's what makes those times when he gets aggressive so funny. But here, he just seems to be a little prick for no reason, other than a really lame fourth wall joke. What makes this all worse is, they attempt to subvert these tropes, but then do them anyway. Like, they get into a fight later down the line. It wasn't even of any consequence, they forget it in 2 minutes, like, literally 2 minutes, it's dropped entirely. There are so many instances where you can feel the writers high-fiving each other, thinking they're so clever at all the jokes they make about buddy trope movies. Oh man, you guys, what clever little twips, so silly. But the rest of it is just an unfunny rehash combined with a backdoor pilot that retcons the main cast into a summer camp story. Each of SpongeBob's friends get a little flashback segment to show how SpongeBob affected them, and what a positive influence he is. But it's just so rote and by the numbers. Like, Patrick is homesick and SpongeBob says he'll be his friend to help him feel better. Then he feels better. Sandy says, I want to be a scientist, but thinks due to being a squirrel she can't for some reason, but SpongeBob just says, you can though, and she's like, okay. It's such basic manipulative garbage. I see people calling this emotional, and it's not even on par with like C-list sad Disney moments. I think I have a higher chance at crying watching Home on the Range than SpongeBob and friends go to summer camp. Like, I get what they were going for. I think a scene like this could be amazing if the rest of the movie were able to back it up. But the context behind it makes no sense. So SpongeBob is about to be executed for trying to steal Gary back, and is basically in court. And as a defense, the gang all recount stories about how great of a friend SpongeBob is. Okay? What does this have to do at all with him trying to steal Gary? That's what he's getting punished for. I don't think him being a good person is gonna relieve that. There was no build up to this at all, yet for some reason I'm supposed to care about all the characters talking about the time they met SpongeBob. At the beginning of the movie, they hint at the fact that SpongeBob is filled with self-doubt and doesn't have the confidence to do that. So how about have this be where SpongeBob is at his lowest point, and so his friends need to build up his spirit again, to give him the fortitude in order to save the day? But the way they went about it just comes out of nowhere. And they legit do the same thing that the first SpongeBob movie was mocking, same tone and everything, it feels so forced.
Then I realized the formula is more than just a list of ingredients and flavor capturing methods.
Or some other third thing.
I'm sorry, but it's hard to get emotional at this sort of thing, when I can't help but see it as a dumb excuse to shoehorn in these camp segments to get kids pining for more baby SpongeBob. And that's not even to mention how dumb an idea Camp Coral is, but there's already thousands of videos discussing that. So I'll just say that as one of the people out there who cares way too much about the lore and continuity of an episodic children's cartoon, it annoys me to no end. But honestly, I could forgive all of this. I really could. I could forget about the uninteresting new characters, rehashing of previous episodes and poor pacing, because this is SpongeBob after all. And at the end of the day, SpongeBob is a comedy, and a really funny one at that. I still regularly watch through the original 3 seasons and think they're hilarious. And while I wasn't a big fan of the second movie, I still will stand by the fact that it's really funny, and I occasionally watch it again for the humor alone. But this has gotta be one of the most unfunny pieces of SpongeBob media. And it's not because the jokes they tell are bad, there just barely are any. Like, there are times in this film where they get away with a kind of funny joke, like SpongeBob and Patrick sitting in their jail cell, or the stuff with Sandy's robot Otto. But in between that are like 10-minute chunks, where it's more boring and uninteresting more than anything. The pacing is so slow. Scenes go on forever. How about ditching that dumb zombie cowboy scene that went on for an eternity, and split it up into smaller, more random segments that show what issues SpongeBob and Patrick face while on their travels? I know that'd just be doing the same as the first movie, but I'd honestly rather take that over whatever this is. Strangely, I saw a lot of people rolling their eyes at the amount of licensed music used in the film, such as a cover of Take On Me performed by Weezer of all bands.
Oh, it's just Weezer. Weezer? Oh my god, it's Weezer!
But it didn't really bother me all that much. I'll take it over an ending done by the epic rap battles of history guys. The only thing that was somewhat off-putting to me was the mention of apps like Skype or FaceTime, which felt very out of place. And the original soundtrack was a major letdown. The original movie had Best Day Ever, SpongeBob and Patrick confront the psychic wall of energy, Just a Kid. I could go on, there are way more. Then the second one has that bizarre Squeeze Me song, which was decent. What does Sponge on the Run have? Agua. I can't play it for obvious reasons, but please look it up. It is awful. Hello, this is editing Mark, by the way. Where the hell was the Gary Come Home remix? It was the perfect setup. I won't go on for much longer, mostly because this movie is so devoid of substance that I don't really know what else to say about it. but also because I'd recommend checking it out for you to still form your own opinion. Who knows, maybe you'll end up loving it. It's not like I want to hate this movie. Sure, I wasn't a fan of the Sonic movie, I hated Scoob and Candace Against the Universe, and okay, I can see why people may think that, but I really do want to like these movies. And I really love SpongeBob and wanted this film to be great. And I'm honestly really disappointed that I wasn't all that into it. Overall, Sponge on the Run is perfectly serviceable at best, and at worst, it's the weakest of the 3 SpongeBob movies, with a rehashed story, forced in emotion, poorly paced, and in the end, is just not very funny. Amazing animation though, it's just seriously, I still recommend watching this for the visuals alone. But I don't know guys, I might have been singing a different tune if they just used the original French narrator in the opening, not like they didn't have Tom Kenny on set.